What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Week 7 recap episode of the Real Talk Ravens podcast, where we're going to recap this huge win versus the Detroit Lions, moving the Ravens to 5-2 now.
You know, there is just so much parity in the NFL. You know, how all week everyone's saying, oh, the Ravens, they're not as good as they seem because they can't finish in the red zone. And everyone's saying how the Lions might be the best team in the NFC because the 49ers, they lost to the Browns, and the Lions, they have such an easy schedule after the Ravens, they could win out. And, well, that just shows why games are played, because every Ravens fan knows underestimate them, especially at home, and they will put you in check very fast. And I'm not going to say the Lions underestimated us, but they certainly played like they did. Kind of like we played against the Steelers, kind of like we just thought we were going to be better than them, and we weren't. You know, I don't think that if we played the Lions again, the score would be that much of a blowout. But I'm very happy to see things click the way they did, and I'm very happy to see the reactions that our players and coaches had after the game, where it was very much onto Arizona, pissed off at themselves for the few mistakes they made offensively, especially Lamar. He was ticked off because of that fumble with Justice, and then I guess what else was it that he was mad about? He was mad about something else.
That was the one thing I remember, was just the fumble. But
I think it was just like converting. Because at the end of the first half, there was the fumble, and then I think there was another one where, like, it was a field goal rather than a touchdown.
Yeah.
But then Harbaugh goes in there and he says, you know, this is good to see. This is kind of what we expect from our guys. Now it's on to Arizona. You know, that's cold. You just beat the team that everyone's crowning the NFC's best, 38-6 at home, 1 o'clock on Sunday. No problem. On to the next team. That's some Andy Reid crap right there.
I was so shocked. I was not expecting us to win like that. I was thinking it was gonna come down to the wire. I thought it was gonna come down to that last possession. I know you predicted that we were gonna win in a good route, but
I was wrong about the number, but I was right that we blew them out.
Yeah, I mean, we just dominated in every phase of the game. And guess what? We finally played 2 halves of football. We didn't just play the first half and then sit down and play complacent.
You can Tyler and the guys were laughing at me yesterday because I was tough on the Ravens. Every time we had like a bad drive, or like when the Lions scored, I was just like, we better not let this crap happen again. And it's not because I wasn't happy. It was just because I'm so used to seeing us just somehow manage to lose these kind of games where we're up this big. And the Ravens shut me up. They shut me up. They did everything they needed to. Maybe had a total of 2 bad drives, one on offense, one on defense. One was the touchdown, one was the fumble. And you know what? I hate to say it, but I think we need a running back. Complimentary to Gus Edwards, because as good as Justice Hill has been in bursts, consistently he's fumbling the ball. And a lot of his yardage comes from 1 or 2 runs a game, not necessarily the collective. It would be good maybe just to use Keaton Mitchell more, or sign someone who will be a bona fide starter. I know Keaton Mitchell tweaked his hamstring or something like that.
Yeah, so injury-wise, he was the only person on our team that came out and couldn't go back in with an injury. And they said it was a hamstring, which we all know hamstrings can linger. And so I don't think it happened when he was on offense. If I had to guess, it happened when he was on special teams, because we didn't see it when he was running the ball.
He had 1 run on offense, and he looked good.
Yeah, it was really good to see him at least get 1 touch, and it was a nice one.
Harbs, I love you. Get this man off special teams. Freaking put Justice Hill back in special teams. This man is going to be Isaiah Pacheco of last year.
I feel like everyone's got to play special teams almost if you're not a complete bona fide starter. In the NFL, because the rosters are so small, it's not like college where you can just play backups and third stringers.
Right. That's true. And, sometimes you'll see, Duvernay is pretty much a special teamer at this point, but you'll see him in the field, and then you'll even see Zay on some special teams plays. So it's not like we don't mix it up sometimes, but I think Justice Hill needs to go back to Fumble University, where you learn how to hold on to the ball and maybe just get the ball in like goal line situations or something like that. Maybe not goal line, but like 1st and goal from the 8 or 9, play with the shifty speed, give him a screen pass, something like that. I'm not displeased with Justice Hill. I just think he needs to figure out how to stop fumbling the ball every week.
Yeah. I mean, the one yesterday wasn't as like, being out in the open field like he was in the previous fumble that he had against Pittsburgh. But yesterday's it was in the mesh. So it was between him and Lamar. They did say after that happened on the sideline, Lamar actually got up in Justice Hill's face and had some words with him, which was actually refreshing to see that Lamar actually was a leader. And
dude, Lamar's kind of like, since last year, we've heard some stories of fiery Lamar, man.
Yeah. So why don't we just go ahead and get back into the offense since we're talking about it. Lamar, 21 for 27, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns passing, 9 carries for 36 yards, and a rushing touchdown. If he doesn't win the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, then something's wrong.
This gives me flashes. Oh, it's going to go to someone stupid like freaking gosh, I can't even think. Maybe someone on the Browns will just be like, "Oh, they beat the Colts." No, but dude, Lamar Jackson gave me flashes of 2019, like MVP, best quarterback in the league.
I think everybody is on that. Like literally, they said his odds for winning the MVP went from like plus 1,800 to plus like 180.
That's crazy. I don't want to get that excited. I want to see this consistently first, but it's just amazing.
He has been the most consistent player. It's more so.
Oh no! I know. I'm just saying, like the MVP is like, I would rather see us string together multiple games like this than get too excited at first. And I'm not necessarily saying it's Lamar. Obviously, it's the receivers dropping things. It's the O-line. But is it a coincidence that this is the second straight game that our full O-line was healthy and we looked unbeatable against one of the best defensive players?
It's the cohesiveness. Like, we didn't play any guys during the preseason. Then after week 1, half our starters were hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're finally getting to the point where guys have actually played together for multiple games.
Right.
And it shows like we're on the same page for the most part on everything.
I think I only saw one dropped ball yesterday, and that was Zay. It was like a little weird.
It was a short pass that wouldn't have really probably got anything after he caught it. If he did.
Right. And then the fumble. There were a couple plays late, like that dropped ball by Williams in the in the end zone. That Rock Yassin like absolutely just failed on. That would have been a touchdown. There were a couple like things that could have gone worse that didn't because we got lucky. But for the most part, we played an incredibly complete, very well put together game on all levels, even special teams. I mean, yeah, there were a couple of times where Tucker was kicking off into the wind, and then the Lions just got it to the 40-yard line, but he was kicking into the wind. And when you catch the ball at the 20 and everyone's still up the field, of course you're going to get another 15, 20 yards,
Yeah, and I mean, we were the first team to score a touchdown in the first 4 drives since like 2018, apparently.
Really?
Yeah. So we're the first team to do that. How about this? Our red zone offense that we were all crying about finally came back and was perfect.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
we had one where we got the field goal, like you said, but everything else we finished in the end zone.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say our O-line played great. Lamar had all day.
Pat Ricard was used very wisely yesterday.
Pat Ricard, the first catch he made, I feel like was like underrated. Like no one was talking about it. He freaking like caught a ball that was like 5 feet over his head, and then even though it was only for like 5 yards, I was like, that was an amazing catch for someone that big.
Right, and then he had that like 30-yard run after catch.
Yeah,
and then just his blocking, like him and Isaiah Likely were in the trenches yesterday, making sure that Aiden Hutchinson could not get to Lamar. And Lamar, to his credit, just looked so cool. There were 3 or 4 times where I was like, throw the ball! Like he was about to get sacked, and he's just like, okay, throws it, completes it for 20 yards with a dude in his face, just like Tom Brady would have. or like Patrick Mahomes would now, where they just doesn't flinch. Just like, nope, there's my guy. Okay.
And then in the past game, I liked how Lamar spread the love around. He didn't just throw to Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews this week. He threw it to Rashad Bateman. He threw
Bateman
it
got
to
involved.
OBJ.
OBJ.
He threw it to
Yeah.
Aguilar. Like they all got something. The only one that I was kind of disappointed didn't get anything was Likely.
Yeah, but again, his role in yesterday's game was mostly for blocking.
I think it's just crazy to me because I don't think he's that great of a blocker. I think
I
he's.
don't know. Unless, I mean, I have to look at the all 22. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he just wasn't getting open. But from what I saw yesterday, it looked like we were just using a lot in the block game.
I just felt like Monken just had a great game plan, and he had plays designed to get certain guys open, and it just didn't seem like Likely was one of those guys that he chose to target yesterday.
The game plan was extraordinary. I remember counting like 5 or 6 times the announcers mentioning that like there was no one on him when he caught it, and he could run for 15, 20 more yards. And it's like, how are they getting that open?
Well, they were leaving the middle of the field wide open, and it was like those were easy throws. And I think, like we said before the game, they were starting out really aggressive on defense, blitzing Lamar, and Lamar didn't flinch. He just sat there and threw it right over their heads.
I think my favorite play was probably Lamar's first running touchdown. How he kind of just like did that weird fake and then went to the outside and was
I loved how Ronnie Stanley pulled and arced out there and had him one-on-one with a cornerback, and he just manhandled him. They apparently he put that defensive back through a cameraman,
really,
and put him in the hospital.
Ooh, shit! Really? The cameraman or the DB?
The cameraman.
Oh, fuck. I guess the dangers of the job. I mean,
he said afterwards. He said, "Yeah, Marshall Yanda was there, so I had to put on for him."
Even speaking of the hospital, I forget what his name is, but there was that one Lions special teamer who got. I mean, he went straight to the. I didn't know this, but he went straight to the hospital and he had emergency surgery, which makes me wonder what the heck actually happened. Because it didn't even look like a gnarly hit. It looked like a really hard random hit, but like nothing you can't. I thought it was a stinger at first until they carted him off. Wow. And I hope he's okay because
the worst part was they were saying it was his first ever game being active.
First ever touch.
First ever getting the ball. Time ever getting the ball.
Injuries suck, man, and I hate to see it. And you got to feel for him. This man actually had a decent run too. Like he made a play. He'd probably gotten 30 yards on the return, and then it was just like a awkward hit where he got hit in the wrong spot. From what Dan Campbell said, he's going to be okay. Sorry, my girlfriend's sleeping. Love you. From what Dan Campbell said, he's going to be okay long term, but it's a scary situation, and the rest of the season's up in the air. Apparently, he was cut from the Lions beforehand, and because of all their running back depth issues, he was re-signed, which is sad to see because a lot of the players who are on practice squads, I mean, I don't know if anyone really knows this, but when you get hurt, your rehab kind of comes out of your pocket. And when you're not making a lot of money and you're just one of those fringe players and you get a potential season ender, that can be career ending for you because you might not be able to afford the rehab the way you need, or you might not get another chance even if you can't afford it.
Well, he should be covered under the insurance.
Is it? Do they? I thought it was salary based.
No, you should have health insurance if you get injured while you're doing something with the team. Like if you're practicing or in a game, you're going to get, or working out, anything like that with the team, you get their doctors.
Yeah, I was under the impression that you still had to pay for something. I don't know. Maybe not.
No, because I mean, even when I played in college, it was covered by the school.
Okay, well then that's nice. As long as the Lions hold on to him, then he should be good.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like you were saying, is the long-term health insurance. Like if you aren't vested in the NFL, which I think you need to be on the active roster for so many games,
right?
Then you don't have health insurance once you retire.
Right.
That's where if someone has
that's probably what I was thinking about.
Yeah. That's where someone that has a really serious injury if they only played like this guy one game, he's not going to get it if he retires.
Right. So he'd have to stay in the league even if he's cut. Like he'd have to stay active.
Right. Or with the Lions. But a lot of times what the Lions will do, or if they cut them, they give them an injury settlement. Right. And that's what the money is for.
Right. That's so lousy though. That's such an anticlimactic, really dumb way to injure year, at least, if not career. I hope he's okay.
Like what's shitty about it is that the GMs and the front office people will look at that type of stuff when they're making roster decisions. If there's two guys that are close to each other, and one of them's a younger player, and one of them's an older player that's on the fringe of being vested, because I think it might come back on the organization to provide them that health insurance.
Really?
So they'd rather side with the guy that they don't have to pay. Like, let's give the younger guy, and then I can screw this guy, not have to pay him for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I hope he's okay. I hope he comes back and finds a way into the league, whether it's with the Lions or a different team, and has another shot, because he definitely had something there, and it's unfortunate to see it in the way it did for him.
Yeah.
All right. How about defense?
Well, one more thing offensively I wanted to talk about was we were the first team to put up 100 yards rushing on Detroit.
Yes, we were.
Yep. And
what was it? The number one rush defense in the league?
Yeah, they were the number one rushing defense, and Gus really got going.
Yeah, he did. There were a couple times in the beginning and at the end where it was like, ugh, but it's to be expected with that team. There were a few where he just broke it off.
And so we actually had 164 total rushing yards with him, Lamar, Justice, and Keaton Mitchell got the one. But majority, Gus was the leading rusher with like 70 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
And he had the 80-yard reception for the big game.
Almost touchdown.
Yeah. So he had over 100, close to 150 total, yards throughout the game. So that was really cool to see.
I did want to say one more thing also. I think it would be a disservice if I didn't give both Nelson Aguilar and Lamar Jackson credit for that touchdown play. Nelson Aguilar's awareness to realize that Lamar still has the ball, and if he gets open, he can find him. And Lamar's ability to just stand in that pocket, be patient, see that Nelson Aguilar is able to get free, and then just boom, right there. I thought if the play was over, I thought he was going to take the sack. And next thing I know, we scored.
That was a pure veteran move.
Mm-hmm.
That's something like you'd think you'd see from Mark Andrews.
Right.
So it's nice to see our receivers doing that, finding ways to get open when Lamar's scrambling, because Mark Andrews always does that. Now we got some receivers doing it. That's deadly.
And if we're a team that likes to lead by example, so if he does that and the other guys see that he did that and Todd Monken says something about it, then that they'll all be aware of that in the future.
He has to have the most receiving touchdowns of all our receivers now.
Yeah.
I don't think any other receiver besides Dave Flowers has one.
No, because Beckham was hurt, Bateman was hurt and not playing too well, and then does Duvernay have one?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I feel like Duvernay might have one, but I also know that Mark Andrews has like 4 or 5. Lamar has like 5 or 6 on the ground. I think a majority of them have been either to Andrews or on the ground with Lamar or through the running backs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, you're right.
Receiving touchdowns, Mark Andrews leads with 5. Aguilar has 2. Flowers has 1. No other receiver has one.
That's going to change soon.
So we only have 8 receiving touchdowns right now. 5 of the 8 are to Mark Andrews.
He's the only player on my fantasy team that's not crapping the bed this year.
He got off to a slow start, but that was because of injury too.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably would have had a couple against the Texans if he played that game.
Yeah.
All right.
But, yeah, let's go ahead and go to defense.
Our backup safety leads the league in interceptions.
He ain't a backup no more. That's all I got to say.
He's earned his spot on this team. He is what we lost with Chuck Clark. He is.
But better.
But better, yeah, because Chuck Clark would maybe get 1 interception a year.
Chuck was better at, filling in the box and making big hits. Gino's out here ball hawking.
Now, I will say, yes, yesterday's interception was a gimme, but like still, the fact that he just did it, and some people gave him crap because, oh, you could just knock it down and have it at the 40. But no, man, get your stats, get your interceptions.
Dude, all I know is ever since his first one,
You're fighting for a contract.
we've been trying to get him, pick sixes.
Right.
So I think that's in the back of his mind. He's like, I want to score this time.
Yeah, no.
He's going to get one sooner or later.
And I have nothing wrong with it. Maybe if the game was like tied and he had just gone in the end zone and picked it off, I'd be a little upset. But like up 28 or 35, whatever it was at that point, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah. So he's got 4 interceptions now, number 1 in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But the story of the day was the pressure on Jared Goff. We had 5 sacks.
Who?
8.
You mean the guy that the Rams traded to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, 16 pressures. And when he was under pressure, according to Next Gen Stats, he was 8 for 16 with 82 yards passing and an interception with a 39.1 passer rating.
I don't think there was a play yesterday where I didn't see Jared Goff at least under some sort of pressure.
And apparently I think it was Matabike afterwards. He was asked, talking to the press, and they asked him about it, and he was like, yeah, McDonald told us before the game, if we get after him early, he's gonna just be scared the rest of the game and not know what to do. And that's exactly what happened.
That's the kind of awareness that you love to have from your defensive coordinator, just knowing that you can get into that QB's head. I feel bad for Jared Goff because I really have been a big fan of him, wanting him to kind of be successful in Detroit, but obviously not against us. And I'm glad, I think that at the end of the year, the Lions will probably be glad that they were served this humble pie early in the season as well. I think that it's important that the Ravens remember that we can't peak too early and we have to play like this all the time. And I think Ravens fans need to understand that not every game is going to be like this. We're still going to lose a couple games probably in the rest of the year. We might lose some bad ones. You never know. And it's the NFL, especially this year. There's been so much parity. I hate to say that this is a fluke, and it's not. I know a lot of people in the media are saying it's like a weird kind of fluky game for the Lions. But if you're a Ravens fan, this is us playing to our potential, and you just hope that they continue to play.
I have a hot take.
Okay.
I think the Lions are going to go on a losing streak now. Honestly, after watching them, I think that they aren't as talented. They aren't as talented as people were hyping them up to be, and they actually just are really well coached.
That would be so unfortunate if they go 8-9 after starting 5-1. We did that once before. I remember back in 2013, the year after we won the Super Bowl. Obviously, we weren't great that year. The Texans had started off 2-0, and they came to Baltimore when Ed Reed was a Texan, and we killed them, and they lost every game for the rest of the year. And that's when everyone realized Matt Schaub sucked. We exposed the hell out of them. I think that's when they drafted Jadeveon Clowney the next year when they had the number 1 pick. We started that losing streak. I don't think it's going to be that drastic with the Lions. I think well coached, even if you don't have the same amount of talent that you think you do, being well coached puts you above a good portion of teams in the NFL, and I think it puts you still above every other team in your division because I think that the best coach in the division is Dan Campbell.
Yeah, it's turning out to be a really crappy division, NFC North.
I still believe in the Vikings. I still think they'll be okay.
What are they now? They have to win tonight. I think I said that on the preview.
I picked them to lose, but if they prove me wrong,
I'll be happy. Now or never.
Look, dude, they barely lost. All of their games have been 1-score losses. They're like the Ravens, where they always play up to their opposition or down to their opposition. And the reason that they lose games is because they'll play down and lose a lousy game here and there, or they'll play up, but that other team is just too good in the end. Like the Chiefs game. They could have won that. They could have beat the Eagles, but at the end of the day, the Eagles and Chiefs are really
0-3. They lost to the Buccaneers. They lost to the Eagles. They lost to the Chargers.
Stupid loss as well. The Buccaneers and the Chargers.
They beat Carolina and Chicago, and they've lost to the Chiefs by 1 score.
Yeah. So, all of their losses were 1 score, correct?
Yeah, and it's funny, though, because they were, the best team in 1-score games last year. So
They
it's
were 11 and
regression
0
to
in
the
one spot.
mean. It's regression to the mean, baby.
Well, I think also you have to. It's so weird. I think they didn't realize how important Dalvin Cook was to their offense. It sucks now that Justin Jefferson's out because I think that's why they'll lose tonight. I
Speaking
think.
of running backs, and speaking of Dalvin Cook,
Oh yeah, a little rumor train here
rumor is he's on the trade block
already.
because Brees Hall is just playing so well.
Is this Dalvin Cook wants out, or we just want you to get your money's worth kind of thing?
I think it's just the fact that they're not using him enough, and they can get something for him.
By the way, speaking of the Jets, I've heard that Aaron Rodgers' recovery has been going really well.
Dude,
And
he's already throwing. He's on the field.
That begs me to ask the question: hasn't J.K. Dobbins been rehabbing with him? Could we possibly?
It's different. I don't think
He's a running back.
Yeah, you got a lot of different movements.
But I don't know. Like, could you maybe see J.K. return for a playoff berth? If I don't know. No,
that would be completely.
There's no way Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles and is throwing the football right now. That's like Marcus Williams playing. Like, dude, don't ruin your life. Please, I hope you're legitimately better. And if you are, you need to sell the world whatever you're taking, because you don't recover from a popped Achilles in 6 weeks.
He does.
I mean, he also goes on darkness retreats, and I mean, he's one of those holistic medicine people. He
loves the homeopathic, holistic, all that.
He probably just found something that like legitimately works, but all of the Western scientists like frown upon because of money or whatever. But in reality, it's like one of those hidden things that really works.
Yeah.
He should start selling Aaron Rodgers miracle serum for NFL players that get hurt. He could make so much money if there's like a legit thing that he did to like rehab so fast other than just being lucky.
I don't think he's hurting for any money right now.
No, but he could do it more of a service for these players. I mean, these players all pretty much fuck with each other for the most part. They're all friends for the most part. Not all of them, but a good majority of them.
Going back to defense.
I had something about trades or signing. There was some news today that we had reached out to a certain someone who has been overseas for a while. It's not necessarily someone I think we need, but it would be nice to see. Ndamukong Suh was talking about how the Ravens called him last week and how he might be making a return to the NFL soon if the right team calls. And he didn't say that the Ravens weren't the right team. He left it very open. He almost sounded like he would like to come play for us. Now, I don't want to sign Suh and then neglect another position that we need. But if we can make him work with whatever else we need, the depth and the leadership is invaluable.
I can see this being one of those things where we don't need him right now, but maybe when it comes November, December football, and maybe we have some guys banged up or something like that, maybe we give him a call.
Yeah.
Because right now we're playing so well, there's no reason to add anything. I just think, I'd rather spend money on some other position if we were going to do that and maybe trade block.
Dalvin Cook would be a nice acquisition. He really would. I know he's injury prone, and I know he's a little bit older. But if you kept the rotation we have
back though,
right? You kept the rotation we have now, where you give it to Dalvin on first down, and then you got Gus as your third down back, and then Justice Hill is just sprinkled in sometimes. You could even involve Dalvin Cook in the screen game and the passing game. He's really good at that kind of stuff. And let's not forget, he hasn't had a season, even with his. I mean, just except for like the injury, like season-ending injury seasons, I think pretty much every season he's played a majority of games and he's run for 1,000 yards. So, including last year on the Vikings as the second back in a two-back system. I think the Vikings were just like very unsure about their future this offseason, so they really didn't know what to do with a lot of their players. And Dalvin Cook was one of them, and they thought they would be okay without him, but they're not. I think that Dalvin Cook is the difference between them legitimately being 2-5 or 2-4 and maybe like 4-2 or 5-1 or something like that. Because the Chiefs, they ain't fooling me. They're trash. We play them in the playoffs the way we're playing right now. We're going to crush them. The Eagles, they're good, but they don't look convincing every week. It's a dumb loss. The Chargers don't convince me of anything. I mean, they keep losing games that they should be winning every week. And then what was their other loss? What that we had said, the Buccaneers? Come on, man. Get out of here with that. Buccaneers aren't good. They're the best team in a bad division. Maybe. You don't know. Because the Falcons won yesterday. So maybe the Falcons are the best team in a bad division.
I think that the Falcons are the best team in the NFC South.
I hate the fact that Bijan Robinson didn't get to play yesterday.
Well, they said he was sick.
He was sick. I thought that could have been his coming out game. Tampa Bay, divisional opponent. He's had a couple of weeks where he's put up some big numbers, flashed in a few.
He's already come out to me.
You know, I'm glad we don't play the Falcons late in the year this year like we did last year, because it'd be different.
I mean, I think when it comes down to it, the biggest thing is they don't have a true top-tier quarterback. So when you have to play those tough opponents, they're not going to be able to finish those games.
I wonder if Falcons fans are regretting the fact that they didn't go after Lamar Jackson when he was a free agent.
I don't. I'm just glad
I'm watching every team. Think about it. The three teams they were talking about, wasn't it the Jets, the Falcons, and what was the other one? It was the Lions. I guess the Lions wouldn't make much of a difference, but the Jets and the Falcons, can you imagine how good their teams would be right now with Lamar Jackson if he was playing the way he is for us? Holy crap, they missed out, and I am so glad. And I hope he makes them never forget it as he scores 70 points on them next time he plays them. Like, oh, gosh, we got so lucky. That could have gone downhill, and it was starting to go downhill.
It was.
And then it didn't. Anyway, do we have anything else about the defense?
I just wanted to mention Arthur Millette led the team in tackles. He is a baller. He is an elite nickel corner right now in the NFL.
I know. What is it with our backups playing better than some of our starters? Like,
dude. I mean, traded in. All he had to do is trade in that black and gold for some purple and black, and now he's a Pro Bowl caliber player.
Well, shocker. The Steelers tend to be very belligerent in what they want to do. And the Ravens have been in the past, but we're obviously opening things up. Whereas, like, for example, they still have Matt Canada. I guess they're finding ways to win games, so good for them. They still insist on using that dreadful offense. They think Kenny Pickett's a good quarterback. They're convinced Kenny Pickett's a good quarterback. I could name 35 other quarterbacks that are better than Kenny Pickett, and it angers me that we've lost to him twice because we shouldn't have. Kenny Pickett, I'm better than Kenny Pickett. I'm sure that my girlfriend is better than Kenny Pickett. Anyone can be in an offense like that, but no, it takes a certain kind of suckerness to be in an offense like that and like to be that garbage. Like, I don't know. If you basically have the whole city of Pittsburgh behind you, you're like the local boy, and you're so lucky that Steelers fans are stupid enough to blame Matt Canada for all of your problems. Because if you were on a real team with a real offense, you wouldn't be a second-string quarterback. You might not even be a third-string quarterback. You'd be on the practice squad. And I will die on that hill. When Kenny Pickett doesn't get a second contract with the Steelers, I will say, I told you so. And if he makes me eat my words, I am a man of honor. I will sit here and I will issue an apology to Kenny Pickett. I'm sorry. He pisses me off so much. I just go on these rants every time I talk about him because he's not good, but they still somehow always beat us. It's probably like being a Chargers fan, knowing that half the time you could beat the Chiefs, but you never do. You know? Same thing. Like, what are we, like 1-8 in the last 9 games against the Steelers? But how many times have the Steelers been the better team? You know? None of those.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we play in week 17, so maybe we'll be resting our starters and we'll lose again.
No, you know what I hope happens? I hope week 17 comes around. We're like 11-5, 12-4, something good enough to be like fighting for a higher seed. And the Steelers are coming in at like 8-8. And they're like, we got to win and we clinch the 7th seed. All we got to do is win. And the Ravens aren't starting anyone. And I hope we don't start anyone and we shut them out and we beat them 7-0. I hope they have the most infuriating punch a hole in your TV game against us and our backups, like they did in 2019 when they had to win and get in and couldn't beat our backups. I want it to be that on steroids. I legitimately want to win 2-0 in overtime with our backups.
You know what's crazy that I'm looking at right now?
What?
I'm looking at the the entire league, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are the only team with a winning record that has scored less points than they've given up.
Right.
They have scored 103 points and they've given up 127. Their differential is minus 24. They're the only team in the NFL with a winning record.
They're 4-2.
4-2.
This is why the AFC North is crazy. And you know what? They'll probably split the series with the Bengals somehow. They'll find a way to beat the Bengals at least once because it's the AFC North. Won't be shocked if they sweep us because they always beat us. The one thing I can say is, I know we're a little off topic. Keeping it in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns are getting everything they deserve with Deshaun Watson. And that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. I hope he's working out for you guys.
Dude, even when he was playing versus the Colts, he threw 2 interceptions.
Like I said, I hope you're getting your money's worth, and that's all I'm going to say.
They had a better chance with third stringer Walker in than they did with Deshaun Watson.
Controversial opinion. I think the Browns should take the financial suicide and trade like with the Bears or someone who needs a quarterback. Take that number 1 pick and get Caleb Williams, because I would love to see Caleb Williams fail too.
I wouldn't do that if I were the Bears.
No, the Bears wouldn't do that. Honestly, Caleb Williams is going to be great wherever he goes, so I hope he doesn't go to Cleveland. What I actually hope happens is that Deshaun Watson just decides to sit out half the year because he's done playing because he's hurt or whatever that BS was. And I hope he just pulls a Jadeveon Clowney, but the Browns can't do anything about it because he's tied up with so much money. Honestly, I used to say that I hate our division but respect the teams in it. I have no respect for any team in our division outside of the Steelers because of what they've done in history, but this Steelers team I have no respect for. I'm sorry, they're look, these teams are the cockiest motherfucking teams on the planet. Sorry, you'll have to bleep that. I have never met more teams that haven't won the Super Bowl act like they're the best team in the world than I have in the AFC North. There are a combined 8 Super Bowls in our division, and only 2 teams have won the Super Bowl. And the other 2 teams are the loudest 2 teams in the league, maybe besides the Cowboys. You're going to go with the Burrowhead? Yeah, okay. Why don't you go to the Super Bowl so you can lose to another mid-team? Everyone else would have beaten the Rams that year. Anyone else would have beaten the Rams that year, but you couldn't. And I love it. And you'll never get back to a Super Bowl because you're the Bengals. And then the Browns won't even make the playoffs 9 times out of 10. So you might have to cut all this cocky shit.
I'm not cutting it.
No? I'm getting a little too cocky. I definitely had a little bit to drink before. I had 1 shot. I was just I'm feeling good. We beat the Lions, victory shot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyways, going back to defense.
Okay.
So the biggest thing to me, first half in the game, we didn't let up a first down until there were 7 minutes to go in the second quarter.
That was insane.
A first down. That's like little league stuff right there.
That's crazy. No, that's I think what you saw happen was the Lions came out with a game plan that very quickly didn't work, and they had nothing after that.
They scored at the very end with a fourth quarter. I think we probably had a couple of our backups in.
That was a nice run though, Jahmyr Gibbs. But then they couldn't get the 2-point conversion. We kind of tightened up on that play. Kudos to them for going for it. In that situation, I'd kind of go for it too, just to see if we.
There were definitely a few times where they probably could have just kicked the field goal, but when we got up by 3 to 4 scores, they were like, "We can't afford to just kick field goals," so they went for it, and we stopped them.
Right. There were I remember the second quarter? They went for a 4th and 1 on their own 40, and they were down 21-0, and then we got a touchdown off of it.
Yeah.
And
then just to highlight the guys who got sacks. Kyle Van Noy, 2 sacks. this guy coming off the couch to having 2 sacks, 2 straight. What didn't he have 2 sacks last week, or did he have 1?
I
Oh,
think
he
it was
had 1,
one
and
and a
then he
half.
had another one that would have been a sack, but there was a penalty.
Yeah. That's right.
And then Owe is back. Odafe Owe is back, baby.
And
Got himself a sack.
Yeah.
He had multiple pressures that probably forced other guys to get sacks, but
Matabike with that early sack. That was
Matabike had a sack, and then of course Arthur Millette. We already talked about him. He got a sack, and but I was really impressed with Owe coming back. That was the type of guy we wanted to see from the preseason, and I think he's going to just only get better.
Oh yeah, he's ready to rumble. He's tired of sitting on the sidelines and being talked about. And if he can play like that every week, or at least like most weeks, then I think he's got a legitimate shot at earning himself a second contract.
If you're looking at it from his perspective, he's at that point where now it's time to play for that paycheck.
Right. This is year 3, just like Rashad Bateman. I did want to give credit to one Lions defensive player for one play early in the game. Isaiah Buggs completely knocked down some run in the backfield early on. I think that was like one of the 2 or 3 times they legitimately blew something up. But I heard I can't remember if it was around the NFL or if it was the Ravens' fault or something. Isaiah Buggs was one of those fringe players who really was underperforming and had to earn his spot back on the team. And it's just one of those things that's like really amazing to see. And I mean, there's not a lot for the Lions to take away from this game other than they just got their butts kicked.
Yeah.
But Isaiah Buggs is a diamond in the rough, and I think if you keep utilizing him and working with him and just using him the way he needs to be, you can have yourself a very, very good D tackle right there. A lot of praise for that man.
Yep, look
huge.
Well, there was one time where I think Lamar was on the sideline after a run.
Yeah.
And he went and tried to mess with him, and Lamar turned back and got in his face. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah, no, Lamar, good for him because, I mean, I love to see that from Lamar. I think a Lions fan would love to see that from Isaiah Buggs because, that just shows the fire. You can be getting beat 38-6 and you still got fire. But Lamar Lamar has become a leader this year. No other way to say it.
He's stepping up, and it's only going to get better. It's
how often can you get this man? I don't know, man. He. I don't think I've seen many other players reach this level of just you can see it when you see a player that has that level of just I want this. It's normally the players like Tom Brady or like freaking JJ Watt or just the superstars, and Lamar is a superstar.
Sure is.
What player do you get? When do you see a quarterback sign a second contract outside of Patrick Mahomes, come back in year 6, and just be better than he was in his MVP season, or at least look like he could be better than he was? Lamar did so much in the air that year, but most of it was on the ground. If he can have a balanced, really good year like he has been so far, I have no doubt in my mind, A, the Ravens will be playing late in January, and B, he'll be on that ballot for the MVP.
Yeah, he's definitely substantiated himself for that right now.
And the funny thing is,
I think, just recapping everything, I think we played really, really good, right? But we've also played really, really bad in some games, in some moments. We can celebrate, but we cannot overreact. And like you said earlier on, Harbaugh and the guys and all after the game, they're like, yeah, we did what we were supposed to do. Now we're going to play another game next week. We play Arizona. So I'm not thinking that it's going to be like this every week. This is just, we got, the better of the other team. That's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
Also, tell me this game did not remind you of the Los Angeles Rams game when we played them in the primetime game and we blew them out.
And something about Jared Goff, man. If he can't get into a rhythm
early. Guess who the quarterback was? Jared Goff.
Right. And I mean, there's definitely a pattern there that I didn't notice that now I did, and other teams are going to start to pick up on.
I think that the Ravens may be Jared Goff's kryptonite.
I think that the Ravens, like you said earlier, may have exposed the Lions. I don't think it'll affect their playoff chances, but
No, they'll
it
be in
would
the
be
playoffs because
very
of how
interesting to
bad.
see what happens if they lose 2, 3, 4 in a row, and then all of a sudden they're like 5-5 or 5-6 or 6-5.
The other thing that I wanted to point out was we are continuing to play to the level of our opponent, whether that's good or bad. If we play a good team, we play at a higher level. If we play a lesser team, we play at a lower level. We're playing the Cardinals next week, right?
Yeah.
Cardinals are what, 2-4? Something
Very,
like that.
very sneaky, tough team.
The Cardinals are currently 1-6. Excuse me. 1-6 Cardinals have only won one game. I think it was to Pittsburgh, to be honest.
No, it's against Cowboys.
Okay, it was against Oh, yeah, that's right, because they upset the Cowboys after they were, supposed to be
Dominant.
the best team in the league.
Right.
They're coming off a loss to the Seattle Seahawks.
We're going to the desert.
We are going to Arizona, out to Arizona, so that's not ever easy. I will say it's going to be easier than going to London, for sure. So I feel like that, but it isn't going to be as big of a deal for us because we're used to we're used to a much bigger, large, time change than this.
And it'll get us used to it because we have a few weeks where we go East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. Because we play at the Chargers and at the 49ers too. Luckily, we're at home when we play the Seahawks and the Rams, but we do have a couple more West Coast trips. So,
like I'm saying, we can't play to the level of the opponent. Like we lost to the Colts, we lost to the Steelers, two of probably, if you're looking at it, two of the worst teams on our schedule that we've played so far. So, it's going to come down to, being detailed this week in practice, making sure that we aren't overlooking this team, that we make sure that, we have a really good week of practice. That's really about it. The AFC North is not going to, slow down for anybody. They went, including us, 3-0 this week.
Yep.
So in order to stay competitive, in order to stay number one in the AFC North, we have to win.
And I guarantee you the Bengals are going to win at least one, if not more, of those games against the Chiefs, 49ers, and Bills. They're going to find a way to win at least one of those.
Yep. But
so, I mean, look, dude, the Bengals are a good team. The whole AFC North is a good division. Everyone who was saying they were a bad division after 2 weeks come on.
If you live out in Arizona, you can get tickets for as low as $14 for our game this week.
Dude, I was talking to Calvin about that. I was like, low key, dude, we should just fly out, meet Tyler.
Honestly, it wouldn't be pretty close for me.
Dude, you could take a day trip playing out.
It's like an 8-hour drive for me. It's kind of like how you are from Maryland.
Yeah. Dude, you could drive out Saturday night, go watch the game, then come back.
Good.
I would take advantage of that, man. You're out there in Utah. It's not very often the Ravens come to your corner of the country.
I was thinking about going to the LA game.
Because
that's only 5 hours from me or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
SoFi Stadium is supposed to be awesome.
Apparently, I can get tickets to that game for $41 right now.
Chargers are 2-4. Get it while you can.
Yeah. And they play the Rams in Baltimore for.
Oh, dude, the great thing about that Chargers game? There'll probably be more Ravens fans there than Chargers fans. So
what is also great about it is it's on my birthday.
That's right, you did say that. But that would suck if we managed to lose, because then you'd be like,
exactly. Yeah, it's also going to be right after Thanksgiving. So
I'm going to Jacksonville with my girlfriend.
Okay.
In December 17th.
Yep.
That'll be a crazy game.
Yeah.
She wanted to go to that, and I've gotten her into football, man. She's been watching Ravens games with me.
Nice.
I know you've met her. She's not a football person, but she's enjoying the Ravens. She knows who Lamar Jackson is. She knows who J.K. Dobbins is. I was like, really? Okay. So,
I think that wraps up this week. What do you think?
I think that's it, man. I think what you just said is very important for us going forward in the week. Just practice like any other game. Be ready for a tough one. Play better than your opponents who are much worse than you. I don't think we have anything else.
Oh, by the way, this is the Hollywood Brown game.
Yes, Hollywood Brown game. So coming up, we got that.
Yeah, but like we said earlier, trade deadline's now only 1 week out. So for all we know, by the time we have our next episode, there could be movement. There could be we could have a new player. We could give away a player. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, that's all I got for this week. What about you, Mike?
That's all I got. I did want to say, Tyler and I have been kind of talking constantly on how we can grow this podcast, how we can make it more interactive with our fans. We know some people have been asking about possible live streams and stuff like that. We see all the comments, we hear all the suggestions, and we're working to, hopefully kind of just, I don't know, kind of like polish this podcast and make it, kind of more fan inclusive, So we're on that. More on that soon, I should say.
Yeah, and biggest thing that you guys can do is just continue to like and subscribe and share
Absolutely.
all of our videos and posts. And again, if you have any questions, please email that to our email. It's realtalkravens@gmail.com. It's listed in the description, so you should definitely do that. We haven't gotten any yet, so it would be nice to do that at some point here soon, and we would love to do that. All right.
Yes, we would. So you guys have a great night. Enjoy this victory. Enjoy Monday Night Football, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Yep, we'll see you all later on this week.
Yeah.
See you.